I'm Brian Robert Oliver. This is the Infinite Eleven's Anatomy of Horror. Tonight, I wanted to talk to you about Raw, written and directed by Julia Ducournau. Coming up next. Justine is a brilliant student in her first week at a renowned veterinarian school. After taking part in a hazing ritual where she's pressured into eating a raw rabbit kidney, she starts to notice changes in herself. She breaks out in a terrible rash that makes her skin peel. She has terrible dreams, and she even hallucinates. But worst of all, she is constantly hungry, and no matter how much she eats, nothing seems to satiate this hunger with the exception of something you'll unlikely to ever find on a menu. So before I begin any kind of analysis here, I have to apologize for all the names I'm about to butcher. But this is Ducournau's first full-length feature film, and if I hadn't known that beforehand, then I would have guessed this was the fourth or fifth film in a canon of an artist well into her prime. Raw is absolutely masterful. No shot goes to waste. Every frame is loaded with information, packed with symbolism, and paced meticulously. Themes include fear of femininity, conformity, misogyny, shame, sibling rivalry, herd mentality, transformation, and those are just the obvious ones. And I'll reiterate, this movie is dripping with symbolism. Raw is a film with a lot to say and says it all seamlessly. It's an essay on the ideas of these large institutions force upon us. Media, school, government all require an initiation process, and they demand you to conform to their view of the world, a world controlled by men. A world that over-sexualizes women and expects them to like it, and a world that fears strong women and attempts to shame them into submission. Now, about the symbolism. I think the best filmmakers are the ones who understand that the information that appears on screen is equal to, if not more so, than the information in the script. And since Ducournau deals with such heavy thematic elements in her film, she chooses bold visuals to help flesh these things out. For example, the world we are immersed into is a veterinarian school. So she uses animals to symbolize themes dealing with dehumanization of women, namely our protagonist, Justine, a notion that is also shared by Karsten Rundquist, who gives an amazing analysis of this film, and I've left a link below if you're interested in that. Now, a little later, I'll show you a portion of a sequence preceding this scene, but this scene here needs a little context. A major part of the first act deals with hazing rituals. It's the act of breaking the freshmen so they can accept this reality and conform. Part of the conformity is drinking, drugs, and sex, something the prior sequence deals heavily with. And now we see a large horse being drugged and controlled by the students at the school. And though we don't know this yet, Justine is an outstanding student, so much so that she has a reputation that has preceded her at the school. So we see this beautiful creature, this powerful horse, and they are forcing stuff down its throat after sedating it. It's as if to say, this part of you that's beautiful, that is wild, we will overcome that. We will pacify you as a group. And later in the film, she meets her first professor, an old man who guilts Justine for being so smart, and eventually tells her he'd rather she not be at the school because her excellence makes the other students feel bad. Then, after Justine is guilted into eating a raw rabbit kidney, she breaks out into a rash and has this dream right here. Incredible job by director of photography, Ruben Impens. So here we see this fantastically powerful mare. We see her healthy coat and her rippling muscles as she runs on a treadmill. She's fastened at every point, essentially a prisoner. And what we are being told about Justine is that if she is to accept this world, then she will never realize her true potential. Basically, she'll be running in place. And there are so many more perfect examples of symbolism, especially regarding her sister, Alexia. Alexia is older and has fully bought into the culture of their school. A motif used twice in the film is a cow, a herd animal. Around midpoint, Justine goes to her sister who, as part of a lab, is literally shoulder deep inside of a cow and pulls out a handful of crap. It's as if to say, I buy into this world so much that I'm shoulder deep in it. And in another scene, the two sisters are drinking on a rooftop, and Alexia tries to teach Justine how to pee standing up, like a man. It's pretty deep if you ask me. And finally, I wanted to highlight a sequence that really shows off every facet of Ducournau's skill set. I mentioned that I'd show you the sequence, well, part of the sequence preceding the horse drugging scene, and really it's a perfect example of style, an almost documentary cinema verite style, and a perfect example of symbolism and motion, really hammering home the theme of conformity and herd mentality. So this is already a long video, so I won't go shot by shot, But I have to say that this sequence ends with an incredibly long take of a debauchery-infested party. And I can't show you that. But it's such an incredible shifting of pace and tone, and it's done insanely well. So right off the bat, what are we seeing? We're seeing the freshmen already being herded into the hallway like cattle. They are confused and scared, and then this. Herded through an archway. So hallway, archway, to me this symbolizes birth. That's what's going on here. These freshmen are being stripped of identity and born into a new culture. I love this shot. Notice the pacing, more herding. The shot is static, but it's so chaotic, and this is the answer to the previous shot. Notice the elders, by the way, or the white coats. Look at what they're wearing. Now think about what you just saw, and now watch this. Well, so I love how this scene is filmed. Prior to this, the shots in the sequence are all static, and now we go handheld, and its movements seem erratic, adding intensity to the chaos. And the pacing. We have these wide static shots to start the sequence, these controlled shots. Then we shrink the space on the stairs, still chaotic but controlled, and then Ducournau shrinks the space even more, increasing the intensity, and now this. It's a change of pace. And look how close we are. This is super personal, and let me say what an amazing performance by Garance Merriere. From the entire cast, actually. We get these really subtle, really incredibly nuanced performances in this right here. It's that uncomfortableness, that muted tension of being close to people, but alone. And another reason why I love this scene is that this whole sequence is dehumanizing, or it's meant to be, and now we find ourselves alone with our protagonist, Justine. And what's more human than an elevator? Or better yet, what's more human and socially uncomfortable than an elevator? And then, another archway. What are they doing? They're crawling like babies in a single file line that meets up with another single file line. Birth, babies, hurting, and then this, debauchery. You get all of this information about this world and very little is said, and certainly none of that is spoon-fed. So there you have it, raw stars, and here comes the butchering. Garance Merriere, Ella Rumpf, and Rabah Naid Wifala. Until next time.